Have you ever walked into a room and felt the icy chill of someone's glare, even though you've done nothing wrong? It's frustrating, right? Why do some people seem to dislike us for no clear reason? Here's the thing. These feelings often have little to do with you and everything to do with them. Whether it's jealousy, misunderstandings, or deeper insecurities, the reasons behind this negativity are as complex as human psychology itself. In this video, we'll uncover 9 surprising reasons why people might harbor negative feelings toward you. And trust me, these insights will change the way you view relationships forever. Before we dive in, if you're new here, hit the like button and subscribe for more life-changing content like this. Your support helps us reach others who need this message. Now let's get started. Number 1, envy and jealousy. Let's start with one of the biggest culprits, envy. When someone sees qualities in you, like confidence, success, or even happiness that they wish they had, it can create a storm of jealousy. This isn't always obvious. Sometimes envy hides behind subtle comments or distant behavior, but over time, it can grow into something far more toxic. Envy often arises when someone measures their self-worth by comparing themselves to others. If they see you excelling in your career, achieving personal goals, or even maintaining a positive attitude during tough times, it can make them feel inadequate, whether or not you intended it. Instead of admiration, they feel resentment, as if your achievements shine a light on their perceived failures or shortcomings. Think of envy as a mirror. It doesn't show them who you are, but who they think they aren't. This distorted reflection can lead to harmful actions, like gossip, passive-aggressive remarks, or even attempts to undermine your success. It's a defense mechanism, a way for them to cope with their inner dissatisfaction. And the irony? Their resentment often has nothing to do with you personally. It's about their unspoken insecurities. Here's where envy becomes truly dangerous. Instead of inspiring growth, it festers. People caught in envy may fixate on tearing others down rather than building themselves up. They might spread rumors, dismiss your accomplishments, or downplay your value to make themselves feel better. This can create unnecessary tension, not just between you and them, but in the relationships around you. So what can you do? First, recognize that their envy is their burden, not yours. You're not responsible for someone else's insecurities, and trying to shrink yourself to make them comfortable won't help anyone. Instead, stay grounded in who you are. Keep striving, keep shining, and let their negativity slide off your shoulders. At the same time, consider showing compassion where possible. Envy often stems from pain. A kind word or genuine encouragement might diffuse the resentment and shift their perspective. But remember, this isn't your responsibility. It's simply an option if you feel it's appropriate. Finally, protect your energy. If someone's jealousy turns into toxic behavior, it's okay to set boundaries. Distance yourself from those who try to drag you down, and focus on the people who celebrate your successes. After all, your light isn't meant to be dimmed. It's meant to inspire. Number 2, misunderstandings. Sometimes dislike stems from a simple misunderstanding. A comment taken out of context, a text misinterpreted, or even a facial expression at the wrong moment can plant the seeds of resentment. What's surprising is how easily these small missteps can snowball into long-term negative feelings, especially if they're not addressed early. Think about this. You make an offhand remark, intending it as a joke, but the other person doesn't know your sense of humor. To them, it sounds condescending or even cruel. Or imagine texting a short reply like K when you're in a rush. What you see as efficient, they might interpret as dismissive. In both cases, their perception creates a reality where you're the bad guy, without you even realizing it. These misunderstandings don't just occur in casual interactions. They can take root in close relationships too. For example, a partner might misread your silence as indifference when, in reality, you're simply tired or preoccupied. Over time, unaddressed misinterpretations can form emotional walls, turning what started as minor confusion into deep-seated resentment. The solution? Practice clear and open communication. If you sense tension or notice someone pulling away, address it directly, but gently. Saying something as simple as, "Hey, I noticed you seemed upset earlier. Did I say something wrong?" can go a long way toward clearing the air. A little vulnerability in these moments often shows the other person that your intentions were good, helping to rebuild trust. On the flip side, work on becoming a better listener yourself. Misunderstandings are a two-way street, and sometimes we're the ones misinterpreting others. Instead of jumping to conclusions, ask for clarification. When you said that, did you mean? This gives the other person a chance to explain before assumptions take over. It's also important to remember that people bring their own baggage into every interaction. A sarcastic tone might remind someone of a critical parent, or a delayed response might trigger feelings of rejection from a past relationship. While you can't control these triggers, being mindful of them can help you navigate sensitive situations with empathy. Lastly, don't be afraid to apologize when necessary. If you realize you've unintentionally hurt someone, a sincere, "I'm sorry, that wasn't my intention," can diffuse a lot of tension. Apologies aren't about admitting fault. They're about repairing connections and showing you care about the other person's feelings. Misunderstandings are inevitable in human relationships, but they don't have to define them. By fostering clear communication, practicing active listening, and addressing conflicts early, you can prevent small issues from becoming major sources of negativity. Number 3, differences in values and beliefs. We live in a world filled with diverse values and beliefs. The beauty of this variety is that it brings fresh perspectives, challenges norms, and promotes growth. However, when these values clash, whether it's over lifestyle choices, political views, religion, or even work ethic, it can create a lot of friction. What's even more challenging is when this difference is perceived not just as a matter of opinion, but as a personal attack on one's identity. Take a moment to consider this. Someone who strongly believes in a particular political ideology may see your opposing stance as a direct challenge to their moral foundation. Similarly, in close relationships, differences in how we approach family, career, or life in general can make one person feel like their very essence is being questioned. For example, a person who values traditional career paths may find it hard to accept your decision to follow an unconventional route, even though both paths are equally valid. The problem arises when people can't separate the difference in ideas from their own sense of self-worth. When you live by certain beliefs, they become tied to your identity. So when someone challenges those beliefs, it feels like a challenge to your very existence. This is often why these differences can spark such intense emotions. What might seem like a casual debate to you is deeply personal to them. It can breed feelings of resentment, anger, and even hostility. So, how do you navigate these situations without sacrificing your authenticity or escalating the conflict? The first step is to recognize that their discomfort is coming from their perspective, not yours. It's not necessarily that you're wrong or that they're wrong, but rather that each person is viewing the world through their own lens. Their beliefs are shaped by their upbringing, experiences, and culture, just as yours are. When you can see that, you begin to understand that this isn't about winning or losing an argument. It's about understanding and respecting a different worldview. However, respecting their views doesn't mean compromising who you are. You don't need to shrink yourself, abandon your principles, or apologize for your choices just to make someone else comfortable. It's important to stand firm in your beliefs, but with compassion and understanding for where others are coming from. You're entitled to your opinions, just as they are to theirs. One powerful strategy for managing these differences is active listening. When someone expresses a view that contradicts yours, resist the urge to immediately defend your position. Instead, listen to understand. Ask questions to clarify why they believe what they do. You might find that by listening, you not only gain deeper insight into their perspective, but also reinforce the respect they have for yours. People are more likely to respect you when they feel heard, even if they don't agree with you. Another approach is to find common ground. Often, beneath the surface, you may share more values than you think. For instance, you may disagree on how to address a social issue, but you both care deeply about fairness and justice. Recognizing these shared values can help foster a more collaborative conversation rather than a combative one. In situations where the differences are so vast that agreement feels impossible, It's okay to set boundaries. You don't have to engage in every debate or defend your choices at every turn. Respectfully disengaging from a conversation that feels too heated or personal is a valid choice. You can be polite without compromising your beliefs, and sometimes the most respectful thing to do is to agree to disagree and move on. Ultimately, the key is to approach these differences with a mindset of respect for both your own views and theirs. You don't need to fit into someone else's mold to be valid. Your beliefs and values are integral to who you are, and they deserve to be honored, just as others' beliefs should be. By embracing the diversity of thought around you, you can foster healthier relationships that are rooted in mutual understanding rather than division. Number 4, rumors and gossip. Gossip, the silent killer of reputations. It's one of the most insidious reasons people might dislike you. Sometimes their negativity doesn't come from anything you've said or done, but from the distorted stories they've heard. A rumor, even if completely untrue, can spread like wildfire, twisting the truth and painting you as a villain before you even know there's a fire to put out. The scariest part about gossip is how quickly it mutates. What starts as a harmless comment, "Did you hear about what they said?" can evolve into exaggerated, baseless accusations. Gossip preys on people's biases and insecurities, amplifying misunderstandings and creating a version of you that exists only in someone else's imagination. By the time the story reaches the third or fourth person, the truth has often been left far behind. Why does gossip spread so easily? It thrives on human curiosity and the allure of sensationalism. People are naturally drawn to dramatic or scandalous narratives, especially if those stories align with their preconceived notions about someone. It's easier to believe something negative than to question its validity. This is why gossip can be so damaging. It's rarely challenged, but its effects linger. The emotional toll of being the subject of gossip is profound. It's isolating to feel misjudged, especially when you haven't had the chance to defend yourself. You may notice people treating you differently, distancing themselves, or whispering when you enter the room. It's tempting to confront every rumor head-on, but this can sometimes backfire, making you look defensive or even guilty in the eyes of others. So what's the best defense? First and foremost, stay true to your values. Consistency and integrity are your strongest shields against false narratives. Over time, your actions will speak louder than any rumor. When people see that you consistently behave with honesty and kindness, it becomes harder for them to believe the lies. Another important strategy is to resist the urge to engage in gossip yourself. When you rise above the temptation to retaliate or spread rumors about others, you demonstrate maturity and strength. Remember, the people who gossip about others in front of you are likely gossiping about you when you're not around. Don't be part of that cycle. If you feel comfortable, address the situation calmly with the person spreading the rumor. Sometimes gossip stems from misunderstandings or hurt feelings that can be resolved through a genuine conversation. However, this requires tact. Start by saying something like, "I heard there might be some confusion about me, and I wanted to clear the air." Approach it with curiosity rather than confrontation to avoid escalating the tension. It's also essential to build a strong support system. Surround yourself with people who truly know and value you. When you have a circle of trust, their belief in your character will outweigh the noise of gossip. These allies can also help counteract false narratives, vouching for your integrity when others try to tarnish it. Lastly, understand that not all gossip is within your control. Some people engage in it out of jealousy, insecurity, or simply boredom. Their actions are a reflection of them, not you. By focusing on what you can control, your behavior, your circle, and your inner peace, you can rise above the negativity and avoid being pulled into the drama. Gossip thrives in darkness, but the truth has a way of coming to light. By maintaining your integrity and refusing to stoop to the level of those spreading lies, you can protect your reputation and your peace of mind. Remember, the people who truly matter will see through the noise and value you for who you are, not the stories others tell about you. Number 5. Insecurities and projection. Here's a tough truth. Some people project their insecurities onto others. This psychological defense mechanism allows them to shift the focus away from their own struggles and place blame elsewhere, often on those who remind them of what they feel they lack. If someone feels inadequate in their career, relationships, or self-worth, they might channel those feelings into resentment toward you, especially if you excel in areas where they feel they're falling short. Imagine this scenario. You've recently been promoted at work, and instead of congratulating you, a coworker starts acting cold and distant. They might even make subtle digs, saying things like, "Must be nice to have all the luck. What's really happening here?" Your success may be shining a light on their perceived failures. To them, your achievement feels like a reminder of what they haven't accomplished, even though your progress has nothing to do with them. Projection often operates on this unspoken logic. If they succeed, it makes me look worse. It's as though your victories diminish their worth in some way. But the truth is, their battle isn't with you, it's with themselves. They're wrestling with their own feelings of inadequacy, and instead of addressing those feelings head-on, they externalize them. Unfortunately, you become the target. This dynamic can also show up in personal relationships. For instance, someone who struggles with body image might criticize your appearance not because there's anything wrong with you, but because they're projecting their own insecurities onto you. Similarly, someone who feels unfulfilled in their relationships might resent your happiness and yours, seeing it as a painful contrast to their own situation. So how do you deal with this? First, approach the situation with empathy. Recognize that their negativity is a reflection of their inner turmoil, not your worth. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but understanding where it comes from can help you respond with grace rather than defensiveness. That said, empathy doesn't mean taking on their baggage. It's crucial to set boundaries. Their insecurities aren't yours to carry, and you don't have to shrink yourself to make them feel comfortable. If their resentment turns into toxic behavior, like constant criticism, passive aggressiveness, or attempts to undermine you, it's okay to distance yourself. Protecting your peace doesn't make you unkind, it makes you wise. At the same time, be mindful of your own behavior. Projection is something we're all capable of doing, even unintentionally. For example, if you're feeling stressed about your finances, you might find yourself resenting a friend who just bought a new car. Catching these moments in yourself can help you empathize with others when they do it to you. Another strategy is to subtly redirect the conversation when you sense projection at play. If someone says, "You're so lucky you don't have to worry about money," you could respond with, "I've worked hard to get to this point, but I understand how challenging it can be." This shifts the focus away from their comparison and acknowledges their feelings without validating their misplaced resentment. Lastly, remember that their insecurities are a product of their journey, just as your strengths are a product of yours. Everyone's path is different, and while you can't control how others perceive you, you can choose how you respond. By staying confident in your worth and compassionate toward their struggles, you can rise above the negativity without letting it weigh you down. Number 6, lack of empathy. Sometimes negativity stems from a lack of empathy. People who struggle to understand others' emotions or perspectives often misinterpret intentions, leading to resentment. Empathy is the ability to step into someone else's shoes and view the world through their eyes. Without it, people are more likely to form judgments based on assumptions rather than reality. For example, they might see your confidence as arrogance or your silence as indifference. A simple decision to focus on yourself might be misread as selfishness. Without empathy to provide context, these misunderstandings snowball into hostility, turning what could have been a neutral or positive relationship into one of tension. What's even more challenging is that a lack of empathy is often accompanied by a rigid worldview, one where people see things in black and white. They might believe there's only one right way to act or think, and anyone who doesn't fit that mold becomes a target for criticism. This can create unnecessary friction, especially if you're someone who values authenticity and individuality. What's the fix? While you can't force someone to understand you, you can strive to stay kind and authentic. Let your actions consistently align with your values, and over time, those who are open-minded may begin to see the truth. Additionally, try to model empathy yourself. When someone reacts negatively, take a moment to consider what might be driving their response. Are they stressed, insecure, or struggling with something you're unaware of? By showing empathy, even when they lack it, you create an opportunity for better understanding. However, it's also important to set boundaries. Not everyone will meet you halfway, and that's okay. If their lack of empathy turns into repeated negativity or toxic behavior, protect your peace by limiting your interactions with them. Remember, you're not responsible for fixing someone's emotional blind spots. In the end, letting your actions speak for themselves is the best approach. People who genuinely want to understand you will notice your kindness and authenticity, while those who don't may fade into the background. Either way, staying true to yourself ensures that you maintain your integrity and inner peace. Number 7, competition and rivalry. Competition is natural, and when healthy, it can be a powerful motivator for growth. But when it crosses the line into rivalry, it can breed resentment and negativity. This often happens when someone compares themselves to you and feels like they're losing, even if you're not competing at all. Their frustration isn't necessarily about you. It's about their own perceived shortcomings. Think about it. Have you ever excelled at something only to notice someone else becoming distant or overly critical? It might be a coworker who downplays your achievements, or a friend who suddenly seems uninterested in celebrating your success. What's happening here isn't about your worth, but their need for validation. To them, your progress feels like a spotlight on what they perceive as their stagnation or failure. This type of rivalry can intensify when someone feels their recognition is being overshadowed by yours. For instance, in workplaces or social circles, people may feel threatened if they think your achievements are earning attention they believe should be theirs. Instead of focusing on improving themselves, they become fixated on diminishing you. So how can you handle this? First, encourage collaboration over competition whenever possible. Celebrate others' successes and invite them to celebrate yours. For example, if a coworker seems threatened by your accomplishments, try sharing credit where it's deserved or offering to collaborate on a project. This can help shift the dynamic from rivalry to teamwork. At the same time, don't let their rivalry distract you from your own growth. You can't control how others perceive your achievements, but you can control how you respond. Stay focused on your goals and let your actions speak for themselves. Resist the urge to get drawn into petty comparisons or validation-seeking behavior. It's a trap that serves no one. Finally, remember that rivalry often comes from a place of insecurity. Approach these situations with empathy, but also establish boundaries. If someone's competitiveness becomes toxic or starts undermining your progress, it's okay to distance yourself. Protecting your peace doesn't make you unkind. It makes you intentional about where you invest your energy. Competition, when viewed with the right mindset, doesn't have to divide. It can inspire. The key is to recognize when rivalry turns harmful and take steps to rise above it. Your growth doesn't come at the expense of others, and their success doesn't diminish yours. There's room for everyone to shine. Number 8, defying expectations. Have you ever made a choice that upset someone because it didn't fit their expectations? Maybe it was a career change, a lifestyle decision, or simply saying no to something they wanted. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? When you step out of the role people have created for you, it can feel like you're betraying their vision of who you should be. But here's the truth. People often dislike what they don't understand. Their reactions are usually more about their fears and insecurities than about you. Breaking out of their box for you challenges their sense of comfort and predictability. However, staying within that box comes at the cost of your authenticity, and nothing is worth losing that. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what we can control, our choices, actions, and values. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "Just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter." This philosophy teaches us that authenticity matters more than approval. Living authentically means embracing your individuality, even when it's inconvenient or unsettling for others. Think about it. How often do we sacrifice our dreams or compromise our boundaries just to avoid disappointing someone? This doesn't make relationships stronger, it makes them shallow. True connection comes from mutual respect, not conformity. When you live authentically, you attract people who value you for who you are, not for the role they want you to play. Yes, choosing your own path might make some uncomfortable, but that's okay. The people who truly care about you will support your decisions, even if they don't fully understand them. And for those who don't, that's not your burden to carry. By defying expectations, you send a powerful message. This is my life, and I am the author of my story. It takes courage to live this way, but the reward is freedom, a life where you feel aligned with your values and fulfilled by your choices. Number 9, lack of recognition. One of the deepest sources of resentment is the feeling of being unappreciated. Whether it's at work, in friendships, or within your family, a lack of recognition can sow bitterness and frustration. It's a wound that grows silently, especially when someone perceives that you're receiving the praise, opportunities, or attention they believe they deserve. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone's bitterness not because of what they lack, but because they feel unseen or overshadowed? Resentment often stems from an unfulfilled need to feel valued and acknowledged. This can manifest in subtle ways: passive-aggressive remarks, distance, or even outright hostility. The takeaway here is simple yet profound. Recognize others when you can. A small acknowledgement, a kind word, a compliment, or a genuine thank you can transform someone's day. It costs you nothing, but it can mean everything to someone who feels invisible. Recognition is one of the simplest yet most impactful ways to build strong, healthy relationships. By appreciating others' efforts, you create an environment of positivity and mutual respect, one where resentment has no place to grow. But what if you're the target of someone else's resentment? Perhaps they feel you've achieved something they haven't, or received praise they've longed for. While it's tempting to internalize their bitterness or try to fix it, remember this: their journey isn't yours to repair. As Stoics teach, you cannot control the emotions or actions of others, only your own. Marcus Aurelius said it best: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. If someone resents your success, your recognition, or your growth, it's not your responsibility to diminish yourself to make them feel better. Instead, remain gracious and humble, recognizing that their feelings are a reflection of their own struggles, not your worth. Lastly, reflect on your own life. Are there moments when you felt overlooked or unappreciated? Use those experiences as reminders to do better by others. When we lead with kindness and generosity, we create a ripple effect of positivity that not only eases resentment, but also fosters deeper, more meaningful connections. The truth is, dislike often says more about the other person than it does about you. Whether it's envy, misunderstandings, or insecurities, these emotions reflect their inner battles, not your worth. So stay kind, stay authentic, and surround yourself with those who see your value. If this video resonated with you, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share your story in the comments below. Let's build a community that uplifts and inspires. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.